What is up, everybody? It is Monday, November 16th, 2015. This is Radio Tokyo, and I am, of course, your amazing, awesome, always here, always present, not Nick host, Jonathan. Um, okay. There was a bunch of stuff that went on over the weekend, and I don't know how many of you kept track of it, but I'm going to try and, you know, cut through some of the bullshit, I guess. But first, I want to talk about something that's coming up, and I'm just going to read straight from a website here to talk about something that's coming up. Tomorrow, of course, is patch 6.2.3 in World of Warcraft. Today actually started the 11th anniversary for World of Warcraft. As a part of that, you get some pretty amazing things. Typically you get, like a little thing that gives you bonus XP and ref, whatever. Well, for this, which by the way, it will go from today until the end of the month, you get a bind on account inflatable Thunder Fury. When you use it, you get a feat of strength. Let's see, and what it does is it basically gives you a Thunder Fury, and if you put Thunder Fury in your main hand, the actual one in your main hand, and you use the toy, you can have it in your main hand and off hand at the same time. That is bind to account, so you can have one on every character and just keep mailing them. Now it only has 5 charges, so keep that in mind. There's also a Null costume and a Murloc costume, 5 charges each. Again, bind to account, and then you get a costume like we have at Hallow's End, and this time it's Edwin Van Cleef. There is 50 charges on this, but it is not bind to account. So you get to dress like Edwin Van Cleef 50 times, and that's pretty cool. Like I said, patch 6.2.3 tomorrow is coming out, and I'm going to read to all of you some of the basics from this. Cataclysm Time Walking Dungeon will be a new time walking event that will start on the 18th. It will start this week. It will start Wednesday. Time Warp Badge rewards will include Gerboggle's Gleaming Bauble, which is a toy, and the use for it is you examine the phenomenal nature of nature, retrieved from the depths of Ashir, and then you get Tossle Wrench's Mega Accurate Simulation Viewfinder, which lets you witness the wrath of Deathwing firsthand. There is another mount that will drop. It'll be personal loot, so you'll be able to loot at any point in time on any character off any boss. It's called Reigns the Infinite Reigns of the Infinite Time Reaver. Say that 10 times fast. Damn. But that is what, those of you who are seeing our graphic on the screen right now, that's what you're going to get. That big, beautiful damn dragon right there. Let's see. Already mentioned the 11th anniversary stuff. Let's see, what else? Reigns of the Grove Warden is a mount it will now come from a quest called Shadow of the Defiler. The quest item that you get is an item which drops on either heroic or mythic Archimon, and you get an item called Remnant of Chaos, and that leads you to the quest. The Reigns of the Grove Warden, of course, is the Moose mount, and that was originally thought to be a store mount. But too many people were upset about that and said there's too many mounts in the store, too many awesome things in the store that we want in the game, put in the game. So if you kill heroic mythic Archimon, in addition to getting your green demon wolf thingy, you will now get this item and you can get it. But apparently this is only for 6.2.3, like the last patch of this expansion. So kill Archimon, get you 2 awesome mounts. Cross-realm rating will now be available on Mythic difficulty. Valor is coming back. Now, we used to have Valor in the past, but this is not the same. It's the same thing, but not the same thing. That makes any sense, all right? Blizzard is essentially calling it a new currency, and it will be used to upgrade Hellfire Citadel, Tanan Jungle, crafted and Draenor dungeon items. Uh, Items will be able to be upgraded twice at 5 item levels each, and that will cost you 250 Valor. So basically, we're going back to the Mr. Pandaria system, where you could go to the shrines and you could, spend your currency and get this. Only it's whatever. Okay, Warlord Season 3 will be coming. Uh, the new gear is called Warmongering Aspirant. Gears in PvP will scale up to 715. Warmongering Combatant gear will scale to 730. And today is not a good day for me to speak. Damn. Anyway, Warmongering Gladiator gear will scale to 740. Mythic dungeon bosses will be able to reward an heirloom trinket that will scale to 110 during Legion. You can get Judgment of the Naru, Orb of Void Sight, Infallible Tracking Charm, Purified Shard of the Third Moon, or the Gron Tooth Warhorn. Excuse me again. So run some mythics and get you some heirlooms. Mythic dungeon loot can now range from 685 to 725 with a smaller chance as the item level increases. Baleful to non-loot can now range from 650 to 695 in 5 little increments with a smaller chance item level increasing as well. So that means you can get your Tanan, normally it's 650, and if you're able to get the item booster, either for purchasing it or as a drop, you can increase to I think 675. But now, like I said, you're going to have Baleful Tanan gear. It will range from 650 to 695, and you'll still be able to get the boost for that. Yeah. And then there will be a new battle pet to the in-game shop, Brightpaw, which will match the mount that already, the flying kitty thing mount. I don't know what to call it. That's already there. It will be released on September 2nd, and I believe I forget how much of the proceeds are going, but they'll be donated to Make-A-Wish. Now, Blizzard, of course, has given a lot of money to charities over the year, so spend your $10, donate to charity, be awesome. If you purchased the Overwatch edition, Origins edition, or the Collector's edition, there is another battle pit that's going to come out as well. Baby Winston. Of course, Winston is one of the really popular characters on there. He's the giant monkey. The gorilla. I'm sorry. So you get a little baby version of Winston if you have purchased it. And let's see, what else can we talk about? I'm gonna go back and talk about Cataclysm Time Walking for a little bit, okay? It's gonna be the New Year bonus event. Like I said, it will start on the 18th. I already mentioned some of the loot you can get, but there will be 6 new Time Walking dungeons: End Time, Grim Batol, Lost City of the Tilvir, the Stone Core, Vortex Pinnacle, Throne of the Tides, and everything that dropped in there. Of course, we'll get the reskin. Well, not really reskin. Item level increase, to be level 100, and yeah, it's gonna be cool. There's also gonna be other ones added. Burning Crusade Time Walking will now have Magister's Terrace, and Wrath of the Lich King will now have Pit of Saran. And I've noticed what they're doing with these is Blizzard seems to be adding in a lot more of the difficult dungeons. End Time, was always a hassle for a lot of players. Grim Batol was kind of difficult. The first time I went there, I remember wiping repeatedly because it was kind of difficult to get through. Lost City of the Tol'vir, a little lengthy, but it's not overly difficult. Stone Core can be kind of annoying. Vortex Pinnacle can be kind of annoying. Throne of the Tides, kind of, we're used to that. But as far as Burning Crusade and Wrath goes, Magister's Terrace was arguably one of the hardest dungeons ever made. Of course, it was one of the first heroic added into the game, and it was essentially a step-up point for people who did not want to or could not run raids. They were able to still get gear to keep them roughly competitive with everybody else who was doing raids. And for a lot of people, who were stuck maybe running Karazhan or Zulamon or something like that, you were able to run this and get you some gear. Amusing story about Magister's Terrace, and I'm probably going to embarrass a friend of mine when I say this, but the first time I ever ran it, We made it. We managed to get it all the way through to the end, and my friend was tanking on a druid, and I was healing on a paladin. I don't remember who else was in the group. I'm sorry. But my friend decided she needed to go AFK because she was hungry, and she said, "I'm gonna run right down the street to Wendy's. I'll be right back in 5-10 minutes." Okay, she's gonna go get like one of their cheeseburgers, and that was it. And she was gonna come right back home and eat while she tanked. Uh, about 40 minutes later, I called her, and she had just gotten home. She had gone to Wendy's. She went in to eat because she got so much food. She got the uh, a baconator, fries, chicken nuggets, a thing of chili. I forget what else. The girl had an appetite, so she went into Wendy's and ate dinner, and then came back and we tanked. But it was amazing, because we sat there almost the entire time, just chit chatting. And this was a point in time, where you can't really vote kicking. This is way before vote kicking. So we couldn't kick her out of the dungeon and then get a new tank. So we had to wait because we would have had to run. If we had left, we would have had to have ran back. So that's honestly one of my favorite uh, stories about running dungeons. And of course, with the Wrath of the Lich King when being added in to put us on, that's also one of the more difficult heroics that was added in Wrath. Um, it's also where most people, if you were around in Wrath of the Lich King, and you farmed dungeons, that was where you went. Because there is a huge number of trash mobs there. It's probably one of the larger amounts of trash mobs out of any dungeon from either Wrath of the or actually most expansions. It had a lot of trash. Of course, the other option for farming trash was Hall of Reflection, but who the fuck wants to go to Hall of the Reflection? But Pitasaran was large. You can mount inside of it, so you can farm bosses and loot. Farm trash and loot. And the reason everyone went there was, of course, to get uh, the battered hilt. Because the more things you can kill, the more options you have to get it. So that's what we all did. Uh, but to talk more about Valor and item upgrades, Valor, as you said, was something in the past. It's being added in for Hellfire Citadel to non-jungle crafted Draenor dungeon items. Uh, and you'll be able to get 4,875 Valor a week. So that would be 100 from the first random heroic dungeon every day, which would be 700 a maximum if you do that one every day. 300 from every mythic dungeon, which is 2,400 maximum. 500 from most weekly quests. 150 for each time you run Hellfire Citadel LFR. Which would be 750 in total, and 75 from the first time you do High Mall and Blackrock Foundry in LFR, or 525 a week. So you get 4,875 total each week. The Grove Warden mount, as I mentioned, is coming from Archimon. There is a detailed quest guide on how to do it on Heroic and Mythic on Wowhead. Look it up. The Warlord's gear, Mythic Dungeon improvements, and everything else. This is all going to be on Wowhead. So if you want to know more, because there is pretty much no way that I can, discuss all of this today reasonably, without taking all day to, because I'm already at about 13 minutes here just talking about this, these few things. Go check it out on Wowhead, and uh, actually, if you don't know, go to Wowhead and look it up. I'll link it on our Facebook page. That way, if you're already there and you're watching this video from there, it's already linked. That way, you don't have to go to Wowhead directly. It'll just take you. But yes. Anyway, of course, over the weekend, there was a lot of stuff that happened, and a lot of bad stuff happened this weekend. A lot of good stuff happened this weekend. But I want to take a few minutes and discuss that. So if you're, only here to hear the WoW stuff, cool. Bye. Leave. If you want to stay and hear the rest of things, I certainly appreciate hearing me discuss the rest of this. But yes, of course, Saturday we had the Democratic debate, the second one total. There's, I think, going to be 6, I think. I have to check. But of course, we've already had 4 Republican debates. Uh, Now, of course, there's some contention as to why this was this was done on a Saturday. Uh, the case was made, especially on the Young Turks, that it might be because the Democratic National Committee does not want anyone other than Hillary getting elected, and that seems likely to be true. I mean, she's arguably one of the more favorable candidates, even though a lot of Democrats, a lot of people who are willing to vote Democrat, uh, like Bernie Sanders more. Uh, my concern is, and this is something that goes along with me working with Wolf-PAC. Um, my concern is one of the larger moments from the debate for me was when the issue of campaign finance was brought up, and both Martin O'Malley and Bernie Sanders continually hit at Miss Clinton over her uh, campaign donors repeatedly, and she wound up making statements to the effect of, well, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. Well, the reality is, and you can see this right here on this on your screen in front of you right here, their top donating contributors for their entire career. And now I do not have Mr. O'Malley's, but I do have a Clinton and Sanders, and you can see for Miss Clinton, going from the top down: Citigroup, Goldman Sachs, DLA Piper, JP Morgan Chase, Emily's List, Morgan Stanley, Time Warner, and then it goes on and on and on and on. And you look at Bernie's. This is all machinist aerospace workers unions, Teamsters Union, United Auto Workers, National Education Association, Communications Workers of America, labor unions. And this is not the unions themselves giving him the money. This is individual people. 98% of his donors have been individual people who gave no more than $25. And Mrs. Clinton, when this was brought up, she continued to say over and over and over and over and over again that that she would go against the big banks, she would take on Wall Street. She was standing up against campaign finance problems. Like I said, which is interesting because the top five donors in her career, as you can see, Citibank, Goldman Sachs, DLA Piper, JP Morgan Chase, and Morgan Stanley. She was also asked about Glass-Steagall, the bank regulatory law passed in 1933. And her claim is that it would not be worthwhile to reactivate the law because it wouldn't do any good to help it. Which, again, interesting, because the law was overturned in 1999 by her husband, Bill, during his last year as president. Glass-Steagall's purpose, was to limit commercial banks from becoming large conglomerates. And on September 11th, the office of every bank listed there except for Goldman Sachs was in the World Trade Center. They were all just, they were all destroyed, and they lost millions and millions of dollars. So, what happened by 2008? Uh, in order to have made up that money, the banks were playing around in the housing market. They were lending homeowners money to buy homes that they didn't have, couldn't afford, and that the banks could not back up the loans on. So when people, started trying to sell their houses, because it was supposed to be a good market, it was supposed to be a really good housing market, what happened was, the banks didn't have the money. So someone else who wants to buy the house that this person is, trying to sell, they want to get the money from the bank. Well, that same bank is also backing up the person and giving them a reason to sell their house. They've given them stuff for mortgages and stuff like that, which was actually pushed by Mrs. Clinton. What happened was it collapsed the banks. The banks could not pay for all of the shit that they were wanting people to do. And so they had to ask the government for help. I mean, the banks are literally hemorrhaging money at this point in time. And Mrs. Clinton said, "Oh, well, we can't do that. It would be bad for America." And then she voted in favor of it. She voted in favor of it. And the bailout was $700 billion that was paid for by taxpayers in the United States. And by taxpayers, I do mean the middle class. I don't mean that it was paid for entirely by the by the 1%, the 150 families that seem to have more money than everybody else combined. No, because they get tax incentives. They were not affected by the bailout. This was $700 billion from people directly affected by the bailout. And what happened was all these families wound up having to try and sell their homes. They had to move. They had to rent out their houses, whatever, and it's caused a huge problem. And of course, despite all of this, all of this money from the taxpayers to help out these banks, these huge corporate banks now, they didn't do anything about it. They didn't do anything about it. Their CEOs kept receiving insanely large salaries, and now they're donating to candidates like Miss Clinton. So to me, when she's asked about it, it it honestly, pretty cut and dry that she is on the side of all these banks, on the side of Wall Street. And of course, Mr. Sanders has kind of built his career over being against that. A lot of Democrats are against that, but here she is saying, "Well, I'm this, I'm that, and you should support me." Well, 7 years ago when that happened, you know, we thought maybe things would get better. I don't see us getting better. I see what happening is that Congress is corrupted and they're continually voting in favor of this. And I see the banks that are just funneling money into Miss Clinton's campaign, and then buying her time on, buying her all these ads and everything on Time Warner networks, which of course Time Warner is another one of her donors. And I'm kind of afraid that that's going to be able to happen, or what will happen if she's elected. Now, it's not that you don't have anything personal against Mrs. Clinton. I really don't. And if you like her, that's fine. Absolutely vote for her if you want to. But the problem is, this is not okay. This is not okay in the United States. Okay, just plain and simple. It's not okay. We need to get money out of politics. We really do. We really really do. But before I go way off course on here, I want to talk about the other things that happened this weekend. And okay, during our show on Friday, about the midway point through, um, there was a terrorist attack in Paris, France. Now, please, the little Lego man that you're seeing right now, this is not meant to mock the victims. This is just the first image I found, when trying to find something for today's show that I felt like really putting up, you know, uh, so please don't hate me for that. Please don't be upset at me for the Lego man. Uh, my concern is that 129 people are dead, and of course, we discussed, like I did the reaction video the other day on Friday, but this has been 2 days since then. Like I said, about 129 people are dead, 130, whatever it is right now, are dead, and people are freaking out because everyone on Facebook has switched. Well, not everyone, but a lot of people have switched uh, their display pictures to have the French flag over it. Now, if you've seen us on Facebook, yes, I switched the imagery for Radio Tokyo in support of this. I'm not ashamed of doing it. I'm quite glad that I did it, and I intend to leave it there for a while. But one of the concerns is that, oh, well, we're standing with France too much, but we're not worried about what happened in Beirut. We're not worried about what's happened in Baghdad. We're not worried about what's happened, all around the world. And there was an assault in Kenya where 147 people were killed by another bunch of terrorist assholes. In Baghdad, a wedding was bombed. In Beirut, the day before Paris was attacked, there was more bombings, more people were killed. It's been happening repeatedly, over and over and over. And it's not like this is, some new thing. It's a continual thing. It's been happening for a long time. And it happens every day. Uh, but to me, people switching their photos on Facebook in support of Paris is not just acknowledging Paris. I think what okay, honestly, I think what happened in Paris on Friday, clearly it's horrible. I'm not going to try and act like it's anything less than that. But I think it was a wake up call. It's just like 9/11. Whenever you bring up 9/11 in a discussion, you are aware of, well, this is this, this is that, and pre 9/11, most people didn't even really acknowledge what had happened. Of course, we had the USS Cole bombing and everything else, but it kind of went away from everybody's mindset until planes were flown into buildings and people killed, and it got everybody's attention. But in the years since then, we've kind of stopped worrying about it. We hear about terrorist organizations, we hear about Al Qaeda and Daesh, who, by the way, I will not be referring to them as the Islamic State, ISIL, or ISIS anymore. They are now Daesh to me. So fuck all of you terrorist motherfuckers out there, and anybody who speaks Arabic understands what Daesh is. Thank you. Cool. Please use that word because I will no longer be legitimizing these people. They're terrorists to me. They're assholes to me. They're the biggest bag of dicks on the planet, and they deserve to be treated that way. So fuck you, Dash. Anyway, that little rant aside, what we're seeing is Dash is being, like I said, a bag of dicks. People, they're attacking people left and right. It's not something new, but we seem to be kind of removed from it until it happens somewhere, like in some nice, relatively safe place, like Paris, France seems to be, or New York City. It's the areas where we don't think about it happening. So to me, the reaction to it is, not some people just standing with France. I mean, of course, the world seems to be on France's side, and yesterday, France launched a, launched rather a series of airstrikes against Daesh targets in Syria and completely obliterated several buildings. They had a weapons depot, training facility, and a bunch of other stuff that was just destroyed by French aircraft, and everyone celebrated because France was like, you know what, fuck you, we're gonna hit you back. We're not gonna wait. We're not gonna play patty cake with this game anymore, and that's good. It really is good. And of course, there's the concern, uh, like certain individuals, and I kind of hesitate to even bring this up, uh, but they're going to say a certain political party, uh, started with an R, uh, who thinks that the United States is not doing enough. Well, the United States is currently done about 125,000 airstrikes against Daesh targets. 100 to 125,000, not some low number. Great Britain has done maybe 100. Canada's done 30, 40. France has done a small handful. Other nations have contributed, but by and large, we have carried out, as the United States, I mean, has carried out the majority of the airstrikes. And we've killed the majority of Daesh fighters. I mean, we're talking thousands of terrorist assholes are dead because of the United States, because of our living pilots, and because of our missiles from our Navy, and because we use drone strikes. We have killed a lot of people. It's not some, thing that you hear about, oh, well, the United States is doing this. No. But according to people like Ted Cruz and other Republicans, what you're seeing is Russia's actually stepping up and Russia's actually doing the job. No, Russia is not doing the job, okay? I don't want to get into an explanation about this because it will take too long, but Russia is actually on the side of Bashar Assad. Bashar Assad is the murderous, ruthless dictator in Syria, and he's who the at least three known uh, rebel groups have risen up against. One of those groups just happens to be a portion of Daesh. Okay, supposedly Russia was bombing them, but they've been bombing non-essential targets. They've been bombing civilian targets, essentially trying to help Assad. That's not a joke. It's what's actually going on. And to believe anything else, to believe, well, Russia needs to do more. Our president needs to do more. These terrorists can't win. And it's gone on and on and on to where today you have several governors who have announced that what's going to happen is the refugees the refugees who are leaving Syria and crossing into Europe, who are begging help to get away from these terrorist motherfuckers. They're begging for the help, and we're saying, no, we're not going to let you in our state. We're not going to let you in this state or that state. You don't even need to be in the country just because you could possibly be, one of the bad guys. And true, it's very true. They could be one of the bad guys. I'll generally give them that. It's entirely possible. But looking through my newsfeed today and yesterday even, I saw a story pop up. One of the members of Daesh uh, that French officials had kept track of. They knew who he was, and they were able to track him down. He's dead now, by the way. Um, he was from Belgium. He wasn't from Syria. He wasn't from Saudi Arabia. He wasn't from Iraq. He wasn't from Iran. He wasn't from Jordan. He wasn't from any other country other than Belgium. And he was living in Paris. And he had false ID. And for some unknown reason, he goes to Greece and he joins the line of refugees. And he, air quote here, immigrates into Europe as a refugee. Now, this is a person who is from Belgium. He speaks, French, and he speaks, I guess, Arabic. I don't know. I don't know what language he speaks. Uh, it didn't matter really. But he comes here posing as someone else. Now, this is either Dash using their social media wizardry here to make everyone think, "Oh shit, we were right all along about these refugees," or it's them. It's an elaborate hoax, is what it is. It's a really elaborate hoax, and it adds more fear into the idea of terrorism. And terrorism, of course, is just using fear to get fear, violence, and intimidation to get a political gain, and that's what you see happening. This is fear being used to get some kind of gain, and that's why I'm not going to be legitimizing these people anymore. That's why I'm going to call them Dash. I'm going to call them an insult. So it's crazy to me, to the idea that people are running away from the likelihood of being killed, and they're being treated like, oh well, we're this, oh well, we're that, and then you have one of these terrorists who is, like I said, is now dead, has played on that, and it bothers me. It really does bother me. The reason it bothers me is because uh, a lot of individuals seem to believe that every Muslim in the world is bad. Everyone is bad. They're all terrorists. They're all out to kill us. Well, there's 7 billion people on Earth, all right? And there's about a billion Muslims. So if every Muslim was a terrorist, they would only have to kill 3 people. Every Muslim would have to kill 3 people, and then Islam would rule the world. And I don't see that happening. I don't see Christians doing that. I don't see Jews doing that. I don't see anyone else doing that. And I think the problem is we need to learn to identify who is who does what, why they do it, and then go from there. Because that's really the only realistic solution that there is to this, is that we have to work together. Uh, the terrorists have a misguided mindset. They're clearly in the wrong. They're using their religion to back up what they say, and enough is really enough. And I'm sorry, but all the bombings and all the ground warfare and whatnot, that's not really going to solve it. We're going to have to drown out uh, that mindset. We're going to have to change the way people think. And it's going to take a lot of work, but I think it's doable. So I hope, all of you, will help with that, maybe, if you get a chance. Now, if your way of doing that is to discuss this, cool. If your way of doing that is to change your Facebook picture to have a French flag, cool. If you want to donate to the Red Cross, which I would suggest you do, or any organization that's intended to help these people, please do. Don't be shy. Make the world a better place. Just put a little bit of good in everything, as Boogie 2988 said in his video about this. So just put a little good in everything. Make the world a better place. Have a good day, everybody. Really, I'm sorry I kind of droned on here too long. I didn't really talk about it, the entire episode. I want to talk about a couple of things, but since we're over half an hour now, I'm gonna go ahead and call it quits for today. I will talk to all of you Wednesday. Please remember to like this video, comment on it, share it everywhere. Like us on Facebook, send us a message, tell us what you think. Uh, we'll talk to all of you Wednesday, everybody. Have a great, amazing day. Bye bye.